Most people who are thinking about moving up in East County are asking the wrong question. They're asking, which area has better homes for my budget? That's a real estate question. But the decision you're actually making isn't about real estate. It's about how you want to live and what kind of ownership you're ready to take on. La Mesa and Mount Helix sit only a few minutes from each other. You could drive between them in under 10 minutes. But in 28 years of selling in this market and over 1,000 transactions, I've watched those two areas produce genuinely different lives for the people who choose them. And the buyers who figure that out before they move, they tend to stay put. The buyers who figure it out after, that's usually when they call me and they want to talk about selling. I'm Steven Rotzart with Caldwell Banker Realty. I've been selling East County for over 28 years. I live in La Mesa. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what a move-up buyer actually needs to think through before they decide between these two areas. Not the brochure version, the honest version. Here's what most move-up buyers underestimate. Because La Mesa and Mount Helix are geographically close, the assumption is that they feel similar. A few minutes of driving distance, same general part of the county, same school boundaries in some cases. They don't feel similar. They feel like completely different towns. Mount Helix is hillside living, winding roads, spread out properties, larger lots, more privacy, mature trees. In certain pockets, get views across East County that are genuinely hard to find at any price point in San Diego. The homes tend to be more custom or semi-custom, meaning more character, more variation, and more personality than you'd find in a typical tract neighborhood. That's the pitch, and it's real. What's also real? To live in that environment. You drive more, you maintain more. Your weekends carry different weight than they did when you were renting or living on a flat lot. La Mesa, especially the neighborhoods close to the village, the trolley corridors, the flatter streets in 91942, it's connected living. Restaurants, grocery stores, coffee shops, parks, the infrastructure of daily life is close. In some pockets, it's actually walkable. That sounds like a smaller amenity than Mount Helix views. But over time, proximity to your daily routine compounds in value in ways that are truly hard to put a dollar figure on that. Here's the thing about move-up buyers specific. You've already lived in East County. You know what your current place is missing. The question is whether that you're moving toward is actually what fills that gap, or whether you're upgrading the home while quietly downgrading your day-to-day life. That mismatch is what I see most often when people call to talk to me about selling their place they bought 2 or 3 years ago. Most buyers compare these two areas on purchase price. That is the starting point. That's not the right comparison. The more meaningful number is what it costs to maintain the lifestyle around that home. And that number looks very different on Mount Helix properties than it does on a flat lot in La Mesa. Mount Helix properties commonly come with larger yards, mature landscape, which means real landscaping labor and water costs. No HOA maintained common areas, sloped lots, long driveways, which need attention over time. Retaining walls, drainage systems, those can require maintenance or even replacement on a timeline that you don't always control. And depending on the specific property and its location relative to brush, there's an insurance conversation happening in East County right now that move-up buyers need to be aware of. Some hillside and brush adjacent properties are seeing coverage restrictions or elevated premium. Not every home in Mount Helix, but enough that you want to know what your insurance situation is before you're in contract. Not when you're 3 weeks from closing escrow and scrambling to find coverage. I've watched that happen. It's not a reason to avoid the area, but it's a reason to do your work up front. On the La Mesa side, the flatter neighborhoods, in particular, the ownership picture is just simpler. Smaller yards, flatter streets, lower water bills, less exterior square footage to maintain. If you're moving up because you want more space, that simplicity might feel like a step back at first. But buyers who underestimate what complex properties actually require tend to come around to appreciating it pretty quickly. So when you're building your budget for this move, don't just model the mortgage. Model the total cost of ownership. What does a yard cost to maintain per month? What does a landscaping cost per season? Have you gotten an insurance quote for the specific parcel that you're looking at? What does the driveway or the hardscape situation look like? Those numbers don't show up in the listing price, but they show up each and every month after those escrow. Let me tell you you about a pattern I've watched on repeat across a lot of transactions in this market. When move-up buyers close on a property, especially a hillside property, the first conversation is always about the home itself, the views, the yard, the space, the sense of having arrived somewhere. That's real. That feeling is real. 3 years later, conversation is almost never about views anymore. It's about the routine. How many minutes of driving are built into every errand? How many weekends get absorbed by property instead of by the people in your life? Whether the trade-off still feels the right one. Some buyers answer that question and say, yes, absolutely. It's worth it. I love this property. I love what it gives us. The extra effort and the fair trade for the privacy and the space and the character of the place, it's all worth it. Some buyers answer it differently. That's when they call me. The buyers who tend to thrive on Mount Helix have a specific profile. They value genuine separation, privacy over access. They're comfortable with or genuinely enjoy the work of owning a larger, more complex property. Weekends on the property feel like good use of time, not a tax on it. They're not measuring life in minutes of driving. The buyers who grow frustrated also have specific profiles. They wanted more home, they got it, but what they actually care most about is convenience, not having to drive to get to things, being able to run a quick errand without it becoming a 30-minute loop, having their weekends back. And over time, they priced as a minor inconvenience what they bought starts to feel like actually real friction. Remote work has shifted. This calculus for a lot of households has absolutely changed. When you're commuting 5 days a week and you can rationalize a lot of weekend friction because you're at the office most of the week anyway, when you're home full time, the neighborhood you live in becomes your daily environment, not just your weekend one. The tolerance for driving, maintenance, and isolation looks different when you're experiencing it every day. Now, I'm not saying one area is better suited for remote workers than the other. I am saying that if your work situation has changed and the weight that you put on access and convenience probably has too, and the move-up decision should account for that. Here's the framework I use with move-up buyers who are genuinely on the fence between these two areas. Stop thinking about what you're upgrading from. Think about what you're upgrading towards. And specifically, what kind of owner are you becoming? Mount Helix, you thrive here if privacy and separation are genuine priorities, not just nice to haves. You find property maintenance satisfying rather than draining. Your social life pulls you towards home rather than out in the neighborhood. You're comfortable budgeting higher ownership costs annually. Views and lot size feel like non-negotiables at this stage of your life. You've owned complex properties before and you know what you're taking on. For La Mesa, you thrive here if walkability and access matter more than you might initially say out loud. You want a simpler ownership structure. After a few years of renting or condo living, your lifestyle pulls you towards a neighborhood, not away from it. You're building equity while keeping monthly carrying costs predictable. You value village lifestyle, food, walkability, transit access. Convenience isn't a concession. It's actually what you want most. One more thing I'd add specifically for move-up buyers. You have equity now. It's a real asset. The question isn't just which home is nicer. It's how you want to deploy that equity and which environment gives you the best combination of lifestyle and long-term position. Mount Helix properties, when they're priced and positioned well, hold their value very strongly. There's a ceiling on inventory. You can't replicate the hillside character of the area. That scarcity does have value. La Mesa's flat neighborhoods, particularly 91941 and the stronger pockets of 91942, have shown durable demand. Buyers who want East County character without the hillside complexity tend to compete in these areas. And that's a market dynamic that's worked in the seller's favors consistently over the years I've been in this business. Neither is a bad investment, but they're different investments and they produce different lives. You should be choosing both on a purpose, not defaulting to one because it came up first in your search. Before you look at another listing, try this. Don't picture move-in day. Don't picture open house version of the place where everything is staged and the lighting is perfect and it all feels like the right answer. Picture a normal Wednesday, 6 months from now. You wake up, grab coffee, take the dog out, handle an errand, maybe take a call from home, come back at the end of the day. Which version of that day do you actually want? The version where you're driving a winding hillside, views and quiet and the weight, a place that took some work to own? Or the version where you walked to get your cup of coffee? Your errand was 10 minutes away, and the neighborhood felt like an extension of home rather than something separated from it. That question tends to give move-up buyers more clarity than 6 weekends of open houses ever will. East County is one of the most interesting markets in San Diego because areas this close to each other can produce lives this different from each other. That's actually one of the things I think makes this market totally underrated. If you're working through this decision and you want to talk through where you actually fit, reach out. Not a sales call, just a real conversation. I've been doing this in this market for 28 years. I can tell you what I've seen happen with buyers who choose each area and what that pattern looks like over time. I'm happy to spend some time with you on the phone before you're even close to ready to making a move, because the buyers who do that work early tend to make better decisions and end up in the right place. And if you want more videos breaking down East County just like this, specific neighborhoods, real trade-offs, the honest version, subscribe. I'm gonna keep making them because in this market, there's a lot of nuances and it takes time to understand. And most people are trying to figure that out in the middle of a transaction when the pressure is already. I'd rather help you and it now. I'll see you on the next one.